John,
Yes.
if I die during this podcast, please.
I'm taking your Switch.
Okay, that's fine. You can have the Switch. Just take Jeff Puppet, and then I need you to do my voice for the rest of it, because I think that I might. I don't know if I'm going to survive. I don't know if I'm going to survive all the way in of another Rage Select podcast right here on Rage Select. I'm Jeff.
I'm John.
And
apparently I might also be Jeff in the future.
yeah, that's possible. You might be Jeff from the future.
Oh.
You thought about that? What? Turns out John's immortal. He just came back in time to assume my mantle when I finally just croak because I slept for 12 hours in the last 3 days or something like that. It's been ridiculous, completely ridiculous, staying up, doing Rage Select, doing this other thing that I don't know if I'm ready to talk about it just yet. Maybe soon. It's not exactly secret. It's just I've been working for somebody else, kind of on the side, on the sly,
On the download.
That's
the
right.
DL, they've been under the table.
Yeah. So there's just
Nefarious.
a lot of things that all came.
A lot of illegal substances,
Yep.
trading hands,
Yep.
and Jeff's going to jail. And I'm going to take over.
It's Bruce Wayne. That's I'm going to be the new Justice League member. That's,
yeah.
Video game man. What's your power? I play video games poorly and then talk about my dick at the same time.
You're hired.
Yeah.
Literally, that was the interview.
Not a lot of people know this, but I got this ring that you don't ever you look through Rage Select, you'll never see my hand, and then I turn the ring and then I turn into Puppet Jeff.
Yeah, it's like the Thing ring from the old cartoon.
Yeah.
Thing ring, do your thing.
Mm-hmm.
Then the little kid becomes the Thing.
That's it.
Ben Grimm.
Yep.
It's really weird.
It's no, it's a pair of armbands like Captain Marvel and I hang them together.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, hey everyone, welcome to the Rage Select podcast. You know where you are, you know who we are. We got a fair amount of news this week. There's actually some video game news, but before we do that, we also have some movie news.
Oh shit!
Just to talk about briefly, there was a new Spider-Man trailer.
It showed way too much.
It showed a lot. It showed quite a bit. It gave you.
Kind of wish I hadn't watched it.
I feel like a lot of people could probably be in that same position.
Having said that, looked good.
Oh, it's a good trailer.
It looks really good.
It's a good trailer.
It looks really good. And I look forward to the movie. I feel like I've seen too much.
It's a thing. I don't know if we talk about this thing that often, but anytime that a property that you're familiar with gets adapted into a movie, there's a lot of times where you can look at a thing and be like, oh, okay, I get where you're going with this. It's kind of like,
not even that. I felt like they just even if you don't know anything about Spider-Man, I feel like they give away way too much in this trailer.
yeah,
You can pretty much tell the entire plot of the movie from beginning to end just based on this trailer.
yeah. I don't know. It still looks pretty good to me.
No. Again, I want to say it looks like a really good trailer. I want to see this movie. I just wish I hadn't watched this trailer.
Yeah, I like the fact that in the trailer that there seems to be that they're. It seems like they're doing a lot more well, he's already Spider-Man, right?
Yeah.
We're not going to have a full-on goddamn origin story.
That's a big thing that they said. They're not doing an origin because he's already been Spider-Man for a year at this point.
Well, from Civil War, I mean, it's obvious he's been operating for a while. I like their choice of villain too.
Yeah.
There were a lot of I feel like in the Spider-Man universe that Spider-Man has that problem, that Batman Joker problem, where it's always got to be the Green Goblin to start out with.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that it's not. I like the fact that it's a villain.
Batman has it's funny because if you think about it, for Batman, everyone wants the Joker.
Right.
And then after the Joker, everyone wants Bane.
Right.
For Spider-Man, everyone wants Green Goblin. And then after Green Goblin, everyone wants Venom.
Well, actually, I'm a real big fan of Dr. Octopus.
I know, but I'm just saying that's the order they tend to want to go in.
Because back in my day,
Dr. Octopus is a good villain, though.
Back when I was a kid, Dr. Octopus would kick the shit out of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
There was I think it was a Todd McFarlane comic where he
recently he replaced Peter Parker's brain with his own, and he lived as Peter Parker for years in the comics.
You know what I really want out of this new Spider-Man movie that I know that I won't get? You know what? I would have I didn't like those the Amazing Spider-Man ones. I don't think that the second one was a fucking mess, but I don't think I hated the first one as much as most people did.
I still haven't seen either of Amazing Spider-Man 1 or 2.
But
I feel really bad about that. But it's not like I went, I'm not going to watch those movies.
Yeah.
It was more of I was out of town the week that Amazing Spider-Man came out.
Yeah.
And so by the time we got back into town, just never.
It was already out of theaters.
Yeah, well, it wasn't already out of theaters. It was just we were so busy because we were trying to play catch up on all the stuff that we missed because we were out of town for 2 weeks.
Right.
It was a long period of time.
Yeah.
And Like, we couldn't go while we were out of town because we were doing stuff. And then, like, we came back into town, didn't just never got around to seeing it. And then 2 came out, and I'm like, well, I can't go see 2 because I haven't seen 1.
You could see 2. It doesn't matter. But anyway, I think it's in 2 where they have Paul Giamatti as the Rhino.
Yeah.
I really want to see that. Like, it was around the fringes of 2, I believe. Like, there was never like a full-on, oh my God, the Rhino is terrorizing the city. But what I really want, I don't want this giant mecha Power Rangers Rhino. I want Paul Giamatti in a dumb-looking big suit where he looks like a rhino, like in the comics. Not a big cyber rhino, but just like gray suit, big guy, and then just CGI Paul Giamatti's face right on the front.
I'm for it.
But anyway, I don't know. I like where this is going. I like. I mean, I don't know if you haven't seen the trailer. Maybe jump forward a little bit, but I like the idea of Michael Keaton in this movie.
Yeah,
like Michael Keaton seems to be showing up and stuff, and Michael Keaton's a good actor. Like, so
no, he's having a bit of a resurgence in his career.
Yeah.
Have you heard the recent brouhaha that came from Sony after this trailer came out?
No, tell me.
So. A Sony exec, someone asked them like, "Oh, how do you feel about or someone asked them about the fact that the Venom, they announced a Venom movie.
Oh, okay.
That is not going to be in continuity with this, but it's supposed to launch their own Marvel Cinematic Universe, much like X-Men was.
Okay.
And so they went, so will Spider-Man be part of that? And they went, yes, but it's not.
This Spider-Man? It's a different Spider-Man?
Essentially, this movie is guaranteed to get 3 movies. After that, they're pulling Spider-Man away from the Marvel Universe and saying, nope, he's now going to be, we're rebooting him again.
Okay.
But apparently they're bringing Venom in first.
I don't think you need to do that. I honestly...
it's just like...
I don't know. I don't know that Venom is enough of an interesting character, in my opinion, without being a foil to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But
I just think it's weird that they're like, oh, yeah, no, we're totally going to do 3 movies that take place with Spider-Man in the Marvel Universe, and then we're taking the franchise away from Marvel because we want the money all to ourselves.
Yeah. Well, let it never be said that Sony doesn't make some boneheaded fucking moves.
Yeah.
I mean, from top to bottom. Well, we got some more stuff to go through, so let's not belabor the obvious. There's a new Justice League trailer.
There is?
Yeah, that uses the Come Together by the Beatles, a real shitty cover of that. I'm not a fan of whenever they do that. Use your own fart rock, butt rock music. Don't make fucking the Beatles into fart rock for your trailer, Justice League.
So I thought it looked like an okay trailer.
Okay, so here's what I'd like to say. I'd like to reiterate.
We're both going to say the same thing.
Yes. I could edit... You give me Aliens, Colonial Marines, and a week, and I will edit you together a gameplay trailer of Aliens, Colonial Marines that makes it look like fucking Game of the Year.
And only uses stuff that's actually in the game.
I'll do it with the stuff that's in the game. I'll jack up as far as I can on a PC, and then I'll put some fart rock behind it, and we'll do a lot of cuts, so that you don't see any of the seams.
It goes to this. Here's the thing. Zack Snyder makes movies the way he makes movies, and this is the reason why I don't like him as a filmmaker. He doesn't make movies to tell a good story. He makes movies to have good set pieces, like that good moment where you look at it and it looks badass. That one little moment, and then he puts all of those moments in the trailer.
Yeah.
And then the movie is just more of those moments. It's not necessarily a coherent or good story. It's just a bunch of really cool scenes.
Right.
So he can have that trailer moment. And I feel like he does it so he can have those cool trailer moments like what this trailer is. This trailer looks like it could be a good movie. I'm like, hey, that looks great. But then I think about it and go, yeah, but Batman v Superman kind of also had some good trailers.
Yeah.
Suicide Squad also kind of had some good trailers.
Sure.
Hell, Man of Steel also had some really good trailers.
Yeah.
I didn't like most of those movies.
I mean, it basically just comes down to, like, I'm going to watch this. I'll go watch it. I do this shit. Like, I'm going to go watch all these movies. I don't give a fuck. But it's a fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, and then you just shame on me forever, right? Because I already know.
You can't fool me again.
Right. Yeah. Is it until, well, bringing out the W jokes.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. It looks fine, but just like they have done nothing to make me interested in this franchise because everyone that I've seen so far I haven't liked. Now, you viewer at home, like them all you want.
Yeah, if you like it, that's great.
I don't give a
that's
fuck.
great.
You like
I'm apprehensive.
Yeah, but I haven't liked any of them so far. And so you show me a new trailer. It's like when people were all excited about that Alien Resurrection trailer, and I was like, you are the same motherfuckers who will bitch and moan for 3.5 hours about Prometheus, and you got excited about a 2-minute trailer. Of course it looks good.
Having said that, I liked Prometheus. I don't think it's a great movie. I don't think it's anywhere near the quality of like Alien and Aliens.
Right.
But I liked Prometheus. I think the new Alien movie looks good. So I'm like, hey, that's I'm not one of those people that is fucking like, and for people who liked Batman v Superman and liked Man of Steel, and said, "No, this looks great, John. You're an idiot who doesn't know a good movie if it bit him in the ass." Yeah. You know what? That's fine if you feel that way. I like some terrible shit. I will admit that. I like some movies that I recognize. I like Double Dragon, so fuck you.
It seems like a fine trailer. I don't like the fart rock cover of Come Together. Yeah. I don't even really like Come Together that much as a Beatles song, but this is just me.
I will say this trailer, if it did anything, it really showcased Aquaman.
Yeah.
And I really liked what I saw with Aquaman. Like I kind of liked his like the scene at the end of the trailer. He's like, "You're dressed like a bat."
Yeah.
I can dig it. Like it's just like, all right, cool, let's go with it. I liked that kind of attitude, and I think if anything, Jason Momoa as an actor may come out looking a little bit better because of this movie. I already think he's a decent actor.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's been outside of the fucking like Khal Drogo, where the fuck his name is, from Game of Thrones. He really has needed that one movie role that's going to like just push him over the edge. Mm-hmm. And I feel like he's been kind of searching for that. Mm-hmm. And I feel like this might be it.
Maybe.
Into being a star. But it's like the stuff they showed with Barry. It's like, great, you showed me a bunch of stuff that's in the TV show, so I've already seen that.
Right.
You showed, his father's in prison. Yeah, I saw that already on the TV show.
Yeah.
You showed Wonder Woman kicking ass. I saw that in the Wonder Woman trailer and in Batman v Superman. You showed me shitty CGI Cyborg. It looked like a fucking character from a Michael Bay Transformers movie. Good job.
Yeah. I don't know.
Aquaman looked cool, though.
Whatever. I'll tell you what I don't know that I'm going to go see, John, and that is It also had a trailer for a new It movie.
I didn't hate this trailer.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, because, like, here's the thing. I never read the original It.
Okay.
So I've never read the book.
Yeah.
I vaguely remember the movie.
Yeah.
Because it's been a long time, because I was young, and I think the movie kind of messed with me a little bit more than, say, Nightmare on Elm Street did.
Sure.
As a kid. So I can't really speak on comparing it to the book or the movie.
Yeah.
On what I'm seeing. But as far as a trailer, it looks creepy. It looks,
I don't like. Okay, I'll tell you what I'm not a big fan of, and I understand that it's stylistically different and blah 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 blah. Right?
Yeah.
But when you do a reboot, you're going to have to calm your tits down and get compared to the original.
Of course.
I don't like how much they're hiding Pennywise here. I think that what I liked so much about the previous one was that you would fucking terrifying Tim Curry dressed up like a clown, front and center, giving you goddamn nightmares, just being a creep-tastical creepy creep. Like here, he's like a monster. He's in the sewer. He's coming out of the water. They keep obscuring his face with stuff, and even when his face isn't obscured, he looks like a creepy, like a Juggalo meets Freddy Juggalo Krueger, right?
Yeah.
But like in the last one, if I remember correctly, like there was plenty of parts where it was just Tim Curry dressed up like a clown. Like there wasn't any part of his clown thing that was especially ominous, except for the fact that it was fucking Tim Curry talking to you, and you're just like, oh, there's something wrong with that clown. Like, yuck.
Yeah. It was just so. Yeah, no, you're right.
Also, the story is not the best Stephen King story because it's a long coming of age story about a bunch of kids who live in this town with a monster in it and then have to come back and like fight the monster. And
don't they come back as like adults and fight the monster?
That's the book. I don't know if they've changed it. I never was able to get all the way through the book. I started skipping it because it's literally like it's so long, and there's so many passages where, because you know that Stephen King also wrote, like The Green Mile, right, or Shawshank Redemption, where
they all take place in the same universe,
like drama, right? Yeah. So in it, I feel like there's a lot of Stand By Me drama mixed with also this supernatural, clown monster thing, right? Well, this is my bias. I fully understand that, but I could fucking give less of a shit about the roughly 900 of 1,500 pages in that book about the coming-of-age story of children because I fucking don't like kids. I don't like watching them act. I like watching adults jump around and shoot laser guns and shit at people, right?
You don't like clowns terrorizing kids?
I don't have any problem with clowns terrorizing anybody. It's just that if the story was about the clown, that's fine. But the story is mainly about the kids.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. There's like a weird part where they all have sex with the girl or something. I don't remember. Anyway, as far as this trailer goes, it
looks creepy.
It's okay.
I don't know if I'll end up going to see it. I probably will, and I hope that it creeps me out and like in the way that maybe that the original did when I was a kid.
Right.
I
mean, I've been burned. But I
also feel like they're purposefully hiding it.
Who's playing the clown?
So the actor, if I'm not mistaken, the most notable thing that people remember him from is American Horror Story. He was in like a bunch of seasons for that. He was in the first season he was the young boy that ended up, I don't want to spoil,
Right. No, I gotcha.
Yeah, he was the boy ghost character.
Bill Skarsgård. Oh, he's is that Peter Skarsgård? He's in Hemlock Grove?
Yeah, he's also in Hemlock Grove.
And in Allegiant? Ah, dude, fuck. Ugh, gross. Okay. Oh, all right, fine. I don't think that's I don't know. It's fine. I would rather I kind of like the casting of Tim Curry better.
Yeah. No, and I think that's why, and I actually think that's why they're hiding as much as they can.
Yeah.
Is because they don't want it compared to Tim Curry until people actually see the movie.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, so. I gotcha.
Also, it was really creepy because the Tim Curry, that's his real hair.
What?
The clown thing?
The clown hair?
Yeah, that's actually his real hair.
That's Tim Curry's actual hair?
Yeah, he purposely grew it out, teased it, shaved his head bald, the top of his head bald.
What?
Yeah.
That's fucking great. Go Tim Curry.
Yeah,
You're the best.
He like totally went all out for that role.
All right, cool. All right, and then one last thing before we jump into video game news. Sorry if this is taking too long, but I got a chance to watch that new Resident Evil movie last week.
Oh, shit, the CG one?
Or no, the final Mila Jovovich Resident Evil Aftermath or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it was so bad.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It was real. Like it was one of those movies that did that thing where the movie forgets like its own rules, where they're just like, oh,
you mean like all of them?
Well, okay, you know what?
Because all of the, with the exception of like the first and maybe the second one, all of them have kind of at some point forgotten their own rules.
I would like to spoil this movie a little bit.
I don't care. I'm never going to go see it.
Out on video. They have a ticking clock in this movie. Actually, yeah. I'll try to talk around this because I don't think that I have to spoil it now that I think about it. They have a ticking clock in this movie, but the thing that clock is ticking down is a thing where they do the movie thing where there's a ticking clock, and you guys, I'm not going to... Do you think that Umbrella wins at the end of this movie? Is that what you think? Do you think they're going to make another Resident Evil movie that has a very dark ending where Alice gets fucking eaten by a licker and that's the end of the movie? You know that they're going to win in the end of the thing, right? It's just the struggle. But there's a ticking clock. And the thing that the ticking clock represents is not like a bomb's going to go off. It's like the amount of time until a thing happens, right? And that thing has real ramifications to the world that they're living in, because this is a Resident Evil world where like there's like
apocalypse.
There's like 6,000 people left that are not zombies at this point. Yeah. So the thing that this is ticking down, like it's one of those ticking clocks where if you get to within like 60 seconds of the end of the ticking clock, that also doesn't matter because there's been enough damage done as this clock ticks down that getting to the end won't work. And then they do the thing that the main character needs to do at the end of the clock. And then there's an epilogue where they're like, oh, there's still a lot of work left to do in this world. It's like, well, but if that's the case, then the clock tick was for a thing that was happening all over the world. And like, if your solution is in this one tiny area at the very end of the movie, then the world is dead. Like, you lost Mila Jovovich. Everybody's dead. Like, go fuck yourself. Yeah, it was pretty bad. It didn't follow its own rules. It had a real weird like.
There is a weird part of me that wants to watch all of the movies like back to back in like one long marathon.
Yeah.
But then there's another part of me that's like, no, I'm not a sadist,
sadist.
Sadist.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's like, no, I'm not a sadist. I don't want to do that.
Also, man, I gotta say, they waste the fuck out of Albert Wesker in that movie and that whole series. I'm like, fucking God damn it. Albert Wesker turns into a fucking lava Tyrannosaurus at one point or something, right? At the end of like Resident Evil 5. But,
okay, yeah. I don't know. I didn't watch past like 3.
Oh, I've seen them all. Because I'm keeping up.
I stopped watching after like 3. I literally watched the third one and I was like, well, I'm done.
Yep.
And then like this last one, I'm like, well, they ended the whole thing. I feel like I should sit down and watch all of them because I really liked the first one. Just, as a one-off. The second one, I was kind of like, it's not bad, but it's not good either. And then the third one was just like, all right, this has gotten stupid.
Let me tell you the reasons why you should watch the third one. It's an hour and 45 minutes long. It's stupid, but as long as you have the ability to turn off your brain, you should be fine.
Yeah.
If you're at all going into Resident Evil like, ooh, I'm gonna tear this apart with logic, the movie doesn't give a fuck about you and your logic. It's fine. Anyway, let's move on to video game news. Let's start talking about movies and start talking about. I tell you what, we've done talking about Resident Evil. Let's talk about Destiny.
Okay.
2.
It's happening.
The video game.
It's a thing.
There was
leaked, and now it's official.
Both a teaser and a trailer this week for Destiny 2.
A lot of Nathan Fillion.
Yep, a lot of Nathan Fillion. I'm glad to see that they're bringing in some comedy aspects here because OG Destiny was fine. It was just a little bit super self-serious. And I feel like they started bringing in Cayde as a comedic character around the Sunken King because or the Taken King or whatever, where he was like, you're kind of one of the guys, and his briefings were always a little bit more funny and a little bit more had a little bit more personality to them. But from this trailer, it appears that the last human city has been invaded.
Yeah, it's been destroyed. Thus, all your equipment is gone. So when you start the new game, you are starting from scratch. But don't worry, you can import your character.
Okay. Like, that really matters. It's not like that there were sliders or anything in the previous game, but yeah, there's a big new threat, and humanity is kind of like, because they were already, this is the last human city, right?
Yeah.
So they were already kind of on the edge. Now it's like, all right. I do kind of have a little bit of a problem with, like, I know that Cayde is being the super funny guy, and his stuff is pretty funny throughout, and it kind of is in character, but at the very end where he's trying to get a cheer out of the crowd and they won't cheer it, he says, but there'll be lots of loot, and everybody's like, yeah. That doesn't really make a lot of sense in the world.
Yeah.
Like that the Guardians would be concerned about quoting fingers loot, right?
Yeah.
Like it makes sense that me, the player, would be focused on loot. But
I feel like that was more done as a joke for the players. It's them poking fun of the fact that the focus of their games have been loot, so that's the whole reason you want to play the game. So it's a joke to the player.
Yeah. I just don't know that it belongs in this trailer that has all the rest of this, because the trailer's, it's a good trailer.
I actually, so here's my thing.
Mm-hmm.
I played the first Destiny a little bit. You played it way more than I did.
Oh yeah.
I thought the game was, as far as the controls and the graphics, everything was solid. It's fucking boring shit. Like the game was fucking just boring. Like I could not play it because I was bored. And so I heard that they fixed some of those problems with the later expansions, but I just couldn't be bothered to go back to it. If they're adding the story actually in the game instead of saying, hey, you want the story, go to this website or use this companion app.
Right.
And story elements will unlock as you play the game, but they'll unlock on these other things. If they actually put the fucking story in the game and also add a little bit of humor to it, like these trailers have, not necessarily with just Nathan Fillion, because literally if Nathan Fillion is the only comedic element of this game, fuck you. But like as long as they add the story, add some flavor to the game, and make it good, I'm there.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you this, that
and I'm not saying actually make it good, but just add some flavor to it.
Well, as the expansions went along, they started adding more and more of that flavor into the game. The main thing that I feel like I love this because it gives us a good opportunity to talk about a thing, right? A thing that hasn't been solved yet, and that is the quest structure of modern video games, right? Zelda does this, where there are people who are like, oh man, I need more eggs. Could you bring me 5 eggs? And it's like, motherfucker, here we are again. It's been how many years since World of Warcraft? It's been how many years since EverQuest came out? And we're still having these quests that are about, hey, do me a favor, I need 5 of these things. And when you think about where we are technological wise, I feel like somebody should be willing to step up to the plate and solve this problem of generic ass firefight /quest /whatever raids, quests, whatever, things that have a higher stake value in a story perspective, because that was the problem with all the Destiny expansions, was that like the first set of missions were all set within this very specific storyline, and then after that it was like, and then here's a shitload of raids for you to do, and it's like, but the raid part was never as interesting to me as the story part was. So if they can get that down in the second one, or if they can maybe even get the drop rate, that's another thing that I feel like Destiny was never quite as good at, was like when you play Diablo, like the progression. I mean, I got hooked back into Diablo a bunch of times because you're like, I'm going to start a new character in Diablo and play him for a little bit. And like, man, the way that Diablo unlocks powers, loot, slots for things, like the progression of unlocking stuff a little bit at a time in that game, it is masterful. Like,
yes, I agree.
Heroin dealers could not do a better job than this shit.
They wish they had that kind of...
Yeah, because every time I'm about to turn off Diablo 3, boom, it's a new piece of armor, it's a new weapon, it's a new power, it's a new modifier, runes for one of the powers, it's a new thing, it's a new dungeon, it's a new boss, it's a new biome, it's a new thing. Like, that game is tuned so well that if you just sit down and kind of go, the game will just let you just go right through, go into it, and like never take your head out until you're beating the game. So if they could just do something like that with Destiny 2, which I feel like may be closer to Borderlands almost.
And that's actually kind of funny because a lot of people are actually like, hey, what the fuck? This isn't Borderlands. Get your Borderlands out of my Destiny, kind of thing.
Why? We haven't even seen any gameplay from the game.
I know,
yet.
but a lot of people are just comparing the comedic elements of it to...
to Borderlands. Oh, okay. No, I can see that. Like, tonally, yeah.
Yeah. Get your, this isn't supposed to be Borderlands. It's supposed to be serious shooter, fucking whatever. But my thing is, it's like, I need something a little bit more than what they gave us in Destiny 1.
Sure.
I need it to feel less like an MMO and more like a game.
I want it to feel, I don't believe I'm even saying this. I want it to feel more like Halo, where a mission in Halo has an objective, a beginning, a middle, an end, and then go.
And there's story flavor around it.
Right. Where there's audio logs that I can pick up. That's the thing that irritates me is, for fuck's sake, you don't have to weave all of your universe stuff into this game, Bungie, but just let me pick up an audio log and listen to it while I'm blasting on stuff. There are plenty of times in these games where there's generic enough blasting. I'd be more than happy to be like, you know what? I'm going to kill all these Fallen, and at the same time, I'm going to listen to one of those people rattle off about the lore of the world to me and be like, burr, 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 burr. And I'll be like, oh, that's really interesting. So, but I don't know. I think it looks good. I kind of agree with that criticism where I say it doesn't have to be funny. There's plenty of games that I play that don't have comedy in them. Dark Souls is not super funny. It's got a little bit of humor in it, but it's not funny. I do think that putting in some humor allows you to lighten the mood from time to time, but it doesn't have to be in there. It's just put it together and give it to me a little bit in a little slightly better way.
Yeah, no, I just and I'm hopeful. I'm actually hopeful for Destiny 2.
Yeah,
but I need to see gameplay, which apparently we're going to get soon.
Yeah,
May. 18th?
I don't know. I don't remember. I don't know.
Like early May or something?
Yeah. And it was going to be out, what was that? August, September?
It's going to be a beta?
There's going to be a beta
if you
over the
pre-order
summertime. Yeah. So anyway, I don't know. Like, I didn't have... Destiny wasn't a total shit show. It did get better when they started doing the expansions. So hopefully they learned from what they did.
I hope so too.
Make it great. I'd like to like Destiny more than I do. I'd like to like it as much as Aaron does.
Yeah.
Maybe slightly less than Aaron does, but all right, next up on the agenda, there was an interview with Famitsu this week where Miyazaki basically said, gee, we're done with Dark Souls. Like, Ring City DLC came out this week. That was the last thing of the last thing of the last thing, and now we're moving on to go
GTFO!
Do some other stuff. And I've said this a bunch of times before, but I'd like to reiterate that I could not be happier because I want this visionary game director and his wonderful team of people to go make something new. And if I would want them to do that even if there wasn't a Bloodborne, but all I feel like I have to do is point at Bloodborne and go, look how fucking good Bloodborne was when Miyazaki was able to just
I do feel like the problem is that there are a lot of people who are like, you know what, I agree with you. Let Miyazaki go do other stuff. Let the studio go make other stuff. But then in the same breath, a lot of those people, and I know you're not one of them, but a lot of those people are like, yeah, go make other stuff like Bloodborne 2. It's like, no, you're missing the point, guys.
No.
I mean, if he wants to make Bloodborne 2, sure. Like if he came out and goes, you know what, I was sitting there and I had a dream and it gave me a really cool idea for Bloodborne 2, so we're going to do Bloodborne 2. You know what? I'd be like, all right, cool.
Sure. Yeah, give it a
but
shot.
if he went, people really asked for Bloodborne 2, so we're going to make a Bloodborne 2.
No.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Make a game you want to make, because that's what I want to play.
You know what I wanted to make? I want to make a VR game. I wanted to make a new Kingsfield for VR. I want that. Or I want them to make I want them to take everything that they've learned from usability and building a fan base and try to go back and make Armored Core a series that I would really be into, because I always wanted to be into Armored Core, but it was just a little bit too impenetrable for me. There's so many franchises that From has that they could go back to. Otogi, Shadow Tower, like there's a lot of them out there that From could totally jump back into. Or I'd love to see him make some new shit.
Yeah,
I would love to see something science fiction.
It's kind of the Kojima situation.
Yes,
it's like I don't want Kojima to make another Metal, like before he left. Before he left fucking Konami.
Yep.
It's like I don't want him to make another Metal Gear game. I want him to make a game that he wants to make, because that's the game I want to play.
Yep.
I don't want to play the same stuff that we've played a million times, but with a new spin. I want the game he wants to make. This is why Silent Hills was the whole PT thing was so engrossing, is because he wanted to make that.
Yep.
Like he legitimately was like, this is a game I want to make. And like that's why I was like, I want to play that. That's why I'm actually like, all right, I don't know what Death Stranding is, but I fucking want to play it because that's the game he wants to make.
Sure.
And same with Miyazaki. It's like he made Bloodborne. I'm like, you know what? I didn't really catch on for Dark Souls, but I really like Bloodborne. I didn't get very far in it because
literally
I got a little bit further, but I didn't get very far. I didn't get too far into it, but I really liked what I played.
Yeah.
I really was engrossed by that. So like and seeing that, I want to see him do it again, but not necessarily Bloodborne, but just whatever he wants to make.
Whatever you want to do. Yeah. That's what I feel like is just, I want him to do what he wants to do, and I don't want him to feel pressure to do it from fans.
Yeah. If it happens to be Bloodborne 2, great. If it happens to be another Armored Core game, great.
Right.
If it happens to be another Otogi game, great. If it's something that's none of those things, great.
That's the most exciting thing in the world is we live in an era where potentially next year or the year after I could be getting a new franchise from Hideo Kojima and a new franchise from Hidetaka Miyazaki and a new Ken Levine game. I feel like we might be maybe-ish turning a corner to the part of this console generation where we start getting the new stuff. Because I feel like the beginning part of this generation has just been HD remake, sequel, HD remake, sequel, HD remake, sequel. But Miyazaki, get out there, do something crazy. Fucking Kojima, get out there, do something crazy. Like Uncharted to Naughty Dog, get out there and do something crazy, please, for the fuck's sake, for the love of God. Whatever. But like, I want those teams out there to do. They're like, okay, we built up the cash with our thing. Now we're going to go do an original thing. In some cases, I'm actually a little bit. I understand it's not a huge part of me, but in some cases, I'm even a little miffed that Rockstar is making Red Dead 2. Like, I think I would like to see them make something else, because they were making Grand Theft Auto, and then Red Dead on the last generation was like a new kind of like, what the fuck? Like, this is crazy and new and interesting. I'd almost like them to bring back that agent game, or like put something in, a different time period or whatever. But anyway, Dark Souls is done. And I couldn't be happier. All right, next up, BioWare is basically... they put out a tweet where they basically said that they're looking at Mass Effect, they're taking people's objections into consideration, and that they're... Well, what does it say? It's been a week since we officially launched Mass Effect Andromeda worldwide, and we couldn't be more excited that our fans are finally experiencing everything we've worked so hard to create. Yeah, right. We've received quite a bit of feedback, some of it positive and some of it critical. The feedback is an important part to our ongoing support of the game. We can't wait to share more of our immediate plans with you Tuesday, April 4th. Now, the part of this that I don't like, John, is the fact that this is essentially like a teaser for like
an announcement,
patch notes. Like, I don't tease that you're going to come out and tell us how you're going to fix your game. Just tell me how you're going to fix your game. Like, also, April 4th, this came out yesterday, and we're recording on the 30th. They're basically teased like 7 days ahead of time.
Yeah.
Just say the thing. Like, don't
Well, I have a feeling like they had already planned to do something on that date, and that they're like, okay, well, we need to address these. Well, we can just address them on the 4th when we were going to make our big announcement. I have a feeling April 4th is going to be the announcement of the first DLC thing.
Yeah.
In all honesty, I think that's what it is. I think they're like, well, we're already going to be announcing a DLC thing on that day, so why don't we just piggyback our patch notes on top of that?
I think that, and so here's the thing. I want BioWare to go down the road of a bunch of different places that we've talked about a bunch of times before, and I want them to fix Mass Effect.
Yeah.
Like, I want them, because we live in an era where they really could, we've seen it with a bunch of different games where they really could go back in there if they wanted to make things right, and maybe go back and fix some of the animation, maybe go back and add in content. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they will. And in fact, of all the companies in the world, I feel like EA is the least likely to do that. They're the most likely to just be like, hey, everybody, there's a patch, and also blah, blah, blah. Or like, oh, we did an upgrade to the facial animations. Facial animation 2.0 coming next week, and it's like, this looks exactly the same. And they're like, oh, it's minor differences.
But yeah, and it's like, also, my thing is a lot of the complaints that I've been seeing, like, I've been playing Mass Effect Andromeda. Yeah. I'm not hugely far into it. Like, in all honesty, I think I'm not even as far as like you guys got, or I'm just a little bit past where you guys got in the dojos.
Oh, like an hour?
Like, yeah, well, I played it for probably like 3 or 4 hours, but like I've been doing a lot of side dicking around too.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily like storyline wise there are some things I don't like so far. There are some things that I really do like, and there are also some things where I'm like, this is every Mass Effect game. People are looking at Mass Effect with rose-colored glasses.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought is. I mean, like, yeah, if you point out, that's what I was trying to get across on last week's podcast.
Yeah.
If you point out the flaws, but like I think I mentioned it in passing, I don't remember Mass Effect having wildly good facial animation.
They've always been bad.
Yeah, I mean, like, and I've pointed out over the years that Mass Effect also had this problem where Shepard Tan would just go right through the gun. You know, like on all the like cutscenes where Shepard would pull out a gun and point at somebody, and their hand is just like shoved right through the side of the gun.
Amanda was shared a post from her timeline where it was like 4 years ago or whatever, where she first started playing Mass Effect 3 for the first time.
Yeah,
and it literally was a moment where the characters were her character walked up to talk to somebody, and it was a cutscene of dialogue. And neither character, like, their bodies were facing each other like they were talking, but their heads were looking almost like to the side and off in the distance.
Sure.
And like weren't even looking at each other. Like they were like something was going off on the side that was way more interesting than the conversation that they were having, but it was still having that conversation.
Yeah.
Like nothing was going on. But like that shit's fucking, it's been there in every goddamn game. You know, and there is some people, it's like, yeah, it's been there in every goddamn game. They should fix it by now. The other thing is the people that made Mass Effect Andromeda, and I feel like people are going to be like, oh, you're just making excuses. It's not even the BioWare A team. Like, it was the B team that made Andromeda. So
I can't take that as an excuse. I don't I don't know. I can't say, well, what did you expect? And be like, well, I expected a fucking good game. And like, if you deliver a
and having said
game,
but what I'm saying though is not that it's not a good game, because I actually am enjoying what I'm playing right now. Like, I don't think it's a bad game.
Yeah.
I think it's got problems. I think it's got structural problems that, like, I think some of those structural problems were inherent in Dragon Age Inquisition.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the complaints that I have are complaints that people had with Inquisition.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, so it's I don't know. Like,
we'll see. I just hope that they make an effort to.
I do hope that they make an
sort a few things out, because I'm not willing anymore, especially with a game as large and as complex as Mass Effect Andromeda, to immediately write it off.
I think a lot of their problems are not animation based. Are not their fundamental story structure bases. The fact that they don't even explain their fucking upgrade system in the game. There's nothing that tells me how any of that works. I had to look at it and stare at it for a solid like 4 or 5 minutes and go, is that how this works?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think that, no, I'm wrong. Is it? What is this? Okay. No, now I get it, because I stared at it and then realized I played a video game. But if you had never played a video game before, it makes no fucking sense.
Okay.
Like, a lot of their stuff is that once you understand it, it's great, but it's just from a story standpoint, from a structure standpoint, from a mechanic standpoint, it's a fucking mess. A lot of my problems are those are the things that needed to be fixed.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is this is stuff that could have been fixed if you had just delayed the game a little bit.
Okay.
But you didn't because you didn't want to because you wanted that money.
Yeah.
You didn't want to delay it again.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see next week.
Yeah. So
well, I tell you what else is getting a massive update, John. StarCraft.
The first one.
The first one. What kind of update is it getting? Is it getting made 3D? Nah. It's basically just getting
HDified.
Yeah, HDified. I can understand why Blizzard would do such a thing, and especially because you could just make StarCraft look a little bit prettier and then give people the ability to play it online, and there's plenty of people who will competitively play it online. I'll be honest, I mean, it looks fine. Like, they went back and, I mean, they didn't do nothing. They went back and redrew all the sprites and everything.
Yeah, they redrew it, tightened everything up. It looks good.
Yeah, and it'll play
4K.
At 4K. Yeah, you can play it in HD. It's fine. You know, that's. I think I would have liked it if they'd done a little bit more, if they'd made it 3D. Like, kind of like what they did. I don't know. I kind of wish that they would have just used some of the assets from StarCraft 2 and then, like, you know, retrofitted them to look a little bit more like this. I'm not going to sit here and say that no work went into this, because obviously a lot of work went into this. I just wish that they'd gone a little bit further. But still, you know, StarCraft's a fun game. StarCraft's a real fun game. If you've never played OG StarCraft.
Yeah, and I can't remember because I didn't really read the article about this whole thing. Is this a free release, or is this one of their you have to buy it? Like, how much is it going to cost, or is it a thing on, if you own the original OG StarCraft on your Battle.net account, then this is X amount of dollars. If you don't, then it's, you know, Y amount of dollars, or is it like a free release for people, or
Koopa's enhancements? I think they're going to be selling it.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they're selling it, but
it's like StarCraft Anthology, which features the original and Brood War, will be free to download. I don't know. I watched this trailer. I didn't go entirely into this. Let's see. StarCraft Remastered will include all the same content as what's found in both the original 1998 and its expansion Brood War. Check out the announcement trailer. Blizzard says the updated graphics will see new illustrations to enhance storytelling during campaign missions. Cloud saves. StarCraft Remastered will feature full connectivity to Blizzard's online network and can be played in 13 languages. Blizzard also revealed that later this week, update 1.1 for StarCraft Brood War will release, which includes bug fixes. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's cool.
No, I bet they'll charge for it. I bet there'll be some charge for it. I
mean, Blizzard's usually good about that kind of stuff. So I mean, it's
$20.
It'll be reasonable.
It's $20, $30, something like that.
Probably like 10 or 20.
I think it's a little low, because the thing is that they're going to be wanting to sell this to the esports scene in Korea. Yeah. So, but I don't know. We'll see.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's, hey, if you have the StarCraft
battle chest
then it's $10. But if you don't have it already, then it's 20.
Yeah, I could see that.
You know, or something like that.
Okay. I tell you what else is getting a facelift inexplicably in a game. I don't know if you may even know what this game is, John. Have you ever heard of a game called Outcast?
Sounds familiar.
Outcast came out in 1999, I believe. So 17 years ago.
Gonna party like it's night.
And it's about this like kind of special forces guy that gets taken to this like alien world, and they think of him like a messiah, and the world is being like it's overrun with like this kind of this society that's like putting the natives to work. And then it's like an open world game where you get to roam around. Does any of this ring any bells? The original was very like voxel based. You rode those little like.
Okay, I've like I said, it also came out at a time when I don't think I was gaming very much, unless it was like on a GameCube or whatever.
It was an old PC game.
An old PC, yeah. I wasn't really playing PC games.
So this is a remake of that. And I have kind of some fond memories about this game, because this game was kind of open world before open world
was a thing.
Well, it was open world when open world was still very niche. Like, I'm not going to say it wasn't a thing, but like this was when a game that had a huge world was still kind of a rarity, right?
Yeah. I get what you're saying. They're HDifying it, and
they're redoing it. I mean, they could just HD it. Like, this is actually everything has been redone here. But this trailer, unfortunately, the character animations, especially the facial animations and the dialogue, which John isn't hearing right now, are pretty fucking bad. And then this is one of those problems where it looks like they're hewing a little bit too closely to the original, to where the jumping and the movement and the platforming and everything just looks real dopey.
Yeah, that looked
dopey.
Like there was one jump where he jumped from one building to another, and it looked really weird.
It was just floaty, super floaty. The combat doesn't look especially fun.
Well, it was also weird because I think it like he moved up in the air before the jump animation kicked in.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll be keeping an eye on this just because, like I said, I do remember this game. I do have fond memories of this game, playing it on the PC, but this does not look like it's worth the time of anybody to play. The thing, though, about this trailer that I find absolutely hilarious, John, I don't know if you noticed this. So at the very end of the trailer, they've got all of these, the legend returns, and it's like quotes, Adventure Game of the Year, GameSpot, PC Gamer Editor's Choice. It's a visionary piece of software, a terrific new tape. And then on the bottom right-hand corner, they've got a little asterisk, and it just says, praise for the original game. And they all have dates of 1999 when the game came out. It's kind of like,
whoa, Kotaku was around in 1999?
I was surprised by that, too. I was like, huh. Anyway, I'll be keeping an eye out for this one. But I'm kind of a little worried because this doesn't look like a very good game. I'll tell you what looks like a good game, though, and that is actually no. I'm conflicted. So we got the first like actual gameplay trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy, the Telltale game, right?
Yeah.
I am so goddamn conflicted, John,
because you don't like Telltale, but you like Guardians of the Galaxy.
Damn right. I really like Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm like, and it should be the one franchise that would make for a super easy video game. You just throw a bunch of alien robots in there, and everybody's got to fly around. And you pick which character you're going to be. You know, have some RPG things where you can upgrade, and then you have to go through a bunch of levels and blah 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 blah. So, and I even like the way that like this game. I like the style, the look of it. It doesn't have any of that the cell shading that a lot of the Telltale games have. It looks like it has a very nice lighting engine to it. Groot and all Gamora and all of them, they look like real good. They have a little gag there with what's his face, Drax, about this is the slowest elevator in the universe. And he's
there's no way you could possibly.
There's no way you could possibly know that. I like all that. I like this little action montage, but then I remember it's a game about talking, or that Telltale when they have action, it's just quick time events, and also like just Thanos is in here.
Yeah,
I'm like okay. So I'm conflicted because I want to play this, but I already know it's not going to be the game that I want it to be. It's going to be a talking adventure game.
Yeah.
And I want a blast.
Choose your own adventure novel.
Yeah, shoot game. I don't know. Did this do anything for you?
It looks like a Telltale game.
Yeah.
It looks like Batman. The Batman Telltale game.
I just wish that they would... you know what? I just wish that they weren't so slavish to their formula about 5 episodes, quick time events, dialogue structures. Rocket Raccoon will remember that. Like, I'm waiting to see that prompt. I know I'm going to see that. Or, you know, Drax will remember that.
Groot will remember that.
Right. Yeah. I do find it interesting, though, that I always feel like whenever I see the Guardians of the Galaxy, that everybody looks very, like, the lineup here looks very similar to the way that they look in the movie, except that Gamora looks a little different to me. She's got this like yellow around her eyes, which I know is a thing from the comics, but it's just so striking with her green skin that like it really kind of stands out, whereas everybody else kind of just looks like a version of themselves from the movie. All right, last trailer. This one we're not going to spend a huge amount of time on, but it's funny. I was showing John this trailer for a game called The Invisible Hours from Tequila Works, the folks that are making Rime and that made Deadlight. And John was like, I don't know, this seems
kind of looks like a weird like Clue meets Telltale.
Right.
It's like it looks interesting. Like I don't know what the gameplay is. I mean, it's very clearly story.
Right. Because it's like it's like Thomas Edison and Nikolai Tesla's been murdered, and it's like a bunch of people in a house, and they've all got their own agenda, and we're trying to get to the bottom of this grisly murder. Oh. And then we found out that it's a VR game.
And it's totally a VR game. And I was like, well, I'm on board.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be on PSVR. And PSVR needs more games.
It looks all right. I hope that it's something like Clue. I feel like that could be fun.
Yeah.
Like that would be the sort of thing that I would like to see, somebody like Telltale do as a game like Clue, where everything's randomized and then you have to like talk to people and try to figure out who is the murderer. But yeah, the art style looks really interesting. If you guys haven't seen this, I suggest go check out the trailer for The Invisible Hours, because it's got a lot of style and looks good.
Yeah, no, I'm actually kind of intrigued by it.
Yeah. All right, so let's. I feel like we're already. Yep. We're getting to way too late. We got one more serious story. So GameStop.
Oh, GameStop.
Closing 150 stores in 2017. Apparently, holiday 2016 was bad for them, and
kind of wonder if they're going to close one of the GameStop stores that are across the street from each other that are by my house.
Yeah.
There's like one in a Walmart, and then right across the freeway, there's one next to where the Target used to be.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they're literally right across the street from each other.
Yep.
And it's like, I wonder if one of those is going to get closed.
Well, when you say street, you mean highway. Also, one of the most butthole intersections in all of Austin to get across one way or the other. But
still, they're literally across from each other. It's like there's no reason for them to be there to be two GameStops right there.
So apparently, there was a thing where they had problems with hardware sales in spite of the fact. Apparently, they got their asses kicked by bundles coming out of Amazon and Walmart and Toys R Us and just other retail stores.
Also underperforming AAA titles. Call of Duty.
Sure. But the thing is that I have no great sorrow for the GameStop's upper management, because if you couldn't turn this era in video games into a profit, like there's plenty of great video games coming out all the time.
Oh, no, I agree.
Hardware and systems, all kinds of shit. Like, if you can't turn that into profit, then what the fuck?
Yeah. No, my little joke there was in the fact that that's kind of what they did on their earnings call or whatever. Mm-hmm. They were like, "Oh, and we, Amazon and all these companies outdid us on Black Friday
bundles and deals,
bundles and deals for Black Friday." And then there were underperforming AAA titles that we're not going to name the names of. Totally Call of Duty. Like literally, they kind of it was Call of Duty. Like, that was the big thing. Like, everyone was like, yeah, they're talking about Call of Duty.
Yep. But the thing is that 150 stores closing because Call of Duty didn't go well enough just indicates to me that your company is made out of bullshit and
also
sticks.
It was all the bad press that they got because of that Circle of Life bullshit.
Yeah, well, whose fucking fault was that?
No. I'm not saying these are like, oh, man, don't feel bad for them. Like, it's totally their fault. They totally fucked themselves.
Yeah, the thing that pisses me off about this, though, is that those 150 stores aren't going to affect the people who made these dumbass decisions. They're going to affect the people who fucking worked at 150 stores. So that sucks. Like, somebody wrote in a question and they were like, how do you feel about this? And I'm like, well, I don't intrinsically want GameStop to fail. I don't want them to fail. I want them to be a good store. I want them to treat their employees okay. I don't want them to try to nickel and dime people out of every last thing. And I don't want their employees to have to try to shove a warranty and a club card and a fucking strategy guide in my face if they know that I don't want it, and I don't want them to be penalized because they didn't ask me, right?
Well, my problem right now is, because if I'm not mistaken, didn't they buy like Think Geek or something like that?
I think so.
Yeah, so like like GameStop owns like Think Geek or whatever. So it's like every GameStop that I've walked into within the last year, they've been less video game stores and more like the video games are there, but it's like more than half the store is merch. Is like not video
Shirts
games. It's
and
T-shirts and bobbleheads and action figures and pop vinyls and backpacks and lunch boxes, and it's like I might as well be walking into a fucking Hot Topic. For video games.
Which I feel like they're. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm wrong about this. I don't run a GameStop, but I feel like we live in an age of video games that's great, and that if you could just be competitive and quit trying to base your business model on buying people's games and then jacking up the cost and then reselling them as your primary earnings motivation. I don't know. Maybe that's not possible. Maybe it's not possible with the margins they make on games to do that. But I've always gotten the impression that GameStop has very few of them have ever. It seems like when the GameStop employees have to do what corporate says they have to do, that I end up having to get irritated because I'm like, no, I don't want a warranty. No, I don't want this. No, I don't. Well, why don't you want it? I just don't want it. Please ring me up. I would like to leave with my video game. But, I still go to GameStop because Best Buy doesn't carry a lot of things like some of the weird stuff that we look at, right? Like, it would be a crapshoot whether Best Buy would cover the Danganronpa re-release. That's a thing that I probably have to go to GameStop for, or something like Akiba's Trip, right, or something like that. So I want them to stay in business, but not if the price of them doing that is treating everybody like a butthole, from customers to employees and all the way down the road. So boo on you, and quit trying to fucking blame Call of Duty. Also, don't, like, when it comes to the blame, like, oh, so Amazon and Toys R Us and Walmart offered better deals, then you will offer fucking better deals. Like, just whinge about how other companies are out dealing you on deals. If it's a difference between firing your employees and not firing your employees, give better deals out. Or take my cash under the table so I don't have to have my friends stand in line for 14 hours. My GameStop, Nintendo Switch, hashtag Nintendo Switch. Anyway. And, yeah, last but not least, we have one more trailer before we go to break. And this is a very strange one. Of all the things in the world, John, that would have a remaster, re-release, be reworked, The Secret World was not one that I thought that I would see.
Yeah, that kind of came out of nowhere.
Did you play The Secret World?
Nope.
Okay. So I have a very brief story. I have a friend. John has met this guy. I won't call him out by name.
His name is Rooster.
Mason Jerfy. So I've talked about my horrible alcoholic friend on the show before, the one that lived in a garbage pile and, like, you know, got evicted and didn't have a functional toilet for a long time. He started playing The Secret World and would not leave me alone until I had to have, like, kind of a mini intervention with him where I was like, if you talk about The Secret World anymore when we hang out, I'm gonna leave you wherever you are. I'm gonna walk away. And I had to do that one time to tell him that I was serious. So I was at a bar with him. He started talking about The Secret World. I said, "You got to stop talking about The Secret World." He says, No. I just got to tell you 25 more things about The Secret World. And I literally left and got in my car and drove away and came back an hour later and was like, "Are you done talking about The Secret World yet?" And he was like, "Yes." And I'm like, "Okay." And I think that the people that like this game really like it. I played it a little bit, and I didn't really like it all that much. But I don't know. Maybe if they remaster it and it's back out again, I'll give it another chance. But of all the things in the world to bring back, this was not one. This was not one of the ones. You know what I wanted to bring back? Relentless: Twinson's Adventure. I want to play that game again, but I don't want to dig out.
You know what game I actually would like to actually play again? Like, I actually had there was a news thing about it a couple of weeks, or last week or whatever, or a few weeks back.
What's that?
City of Heroes.
Yeah.
It was an interesting MMO. I was really into that. It was mostly grinding, which was the problem, but I felt like they did some interesting stuff with the City of Villains expansion. And apparently the studio that made the game, which is owned by NCSoft or whatever, NCSoft owns the rights to City of Heroes, and they tried to, like, they left NCSoft or whatever, and they tried to buy the rights to City of Heroes from NCSoft.
Sure.
And then NCSoft went, no. And they're like, but you already shut the game down. They're like, yeah. And they're like, are you going to do anything with it? No. Well, then why won't you sell it? Because we don't want to. And then they recently announced, like, their new MOBA that they're working on. One of the characters is a City of Heroes character, which is totally the reason they didn't want to get rid of it, because they knew that they were going to be doing that.
Yup.
So it's just like, and it's like, well, fuck.
Does anybody care about your games, NCSoft?
I kind of cared about City of Heroes, kind of. I mean, I didn't play it for a long time.
I kind of cared about Guild Wars a little bit, but not really that much. And with that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a break. When we come back, we are going to talk about a few different things and answer some questions, so stick around. We'll be back in just a moment. And we're back.
You're still alive?
I'm barely. I'm hanging on by a thread over here. I know I just got into one of those situations where, like, you know, you burn the candle at both ends, right? But I've just done that for too many days in a row, to the point where I got like 6-ish hours of sleep last night. But, like, what I needed was like 12 hours of sleep last night.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, we're just about done. But before we get to the questions, John and I have a brief public service announcement to put out there. And it starts with a story from my good friend, John Sitton. John, would you like to take it away? Would you like to tell your story?
I mean, sure. I mean, you asked me to, so I guess I can. A little while back, a couple weeks back, about 2-3 weeks, I got into a car accident.
Yeah.
Totally the other dude's fault. He, made a right-hand turn from the left-hand lane and turned right into me. He was turning into a parking lot, which was weird that he was in the right-hand or left-hand lane to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he turned right into me, and the whole thing was, we pulled over, we went into the parking lot. He said he called the cops. Cops never showed up. We exchanged information. It was pretty clear cut. Like, his car had no damage on it because it was a giant fucking truck.
Yep.
Our car was built to crumple, so it, the doors crumpled in or whatever, dented in. It's not too bad. Like, it's still, the doors open and shut just like they normally do. It's just they're dented.
Right.
It's mostly cosmetic. I called my insurance company, explained the situation to them. They're like, okay, well, you don't have full coverage, but that's neither here nor there. They said, so you'll have to deal with his insurance company. So call his insurance company, tell them my story. They're like, all right, cool. We'll look into it and get back to you. Week goes by, they call me back up, and they're like, hey, we need you to give us your statement again.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, cool. Gave them my statement again. They're like, cool, thank you. His story, and they're like, we have to wait to hear from him before we can do anything. All right, that's cool. They give me a call back. Hey, we need to re-get your statement again because our client gave us his statement and it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And like, I reiterated the whole thing, and they kept like, well, he says he was turning down a street. It's like, no. He says he was in the right-hand lane. No. I have pictures of my car. You can see where he hit me, which if you look at where he hit me, it's impossible that he could have been in the right-hand lane.
Yep.
And I even like showed pictures. I sent them pictures of my car, pictures of the street where the accident happened, so that they could see where his car, get an idea of where his car was, what direction we were going, and all of that. And then I get a call back on Monday, basically going, we talked to our client again, and we saw the pictures. Thank you for the pictures. Our client's statement still makes absolutely no sense to us, so we want to clarify things with you one more time. It's like, okay, like. And mind you, every time I've talked to them, the person I've talked to is like, yeah, that sounds like our client would be at fault if, it totally sounded like, they kept saying, it sounds like our client is totally at fault based on what you're telling me.
Sure.
Based on the pictures you've provided us, it seems like our client is totally at fault or is not remembering the situation correctly.
Right.
Like every time up to this point. And she's like, yeah, our client's statement doesn't really make much sense, so we need you to go over it again. Third time now.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I go over it, and they're like, yeah, your story sounds more plausible than what our client is telling us. However, why weren't the cops involved? And I was like, well, he said that he called them and they never showed up. But why didn't you wait for the cops to show up?
Yeah.
They never showed up. Mm-hmm. Do you have any witnesses? Well, there's the person that was in my car with me when I got hit. Yeah, no, we can't classify them as a witness because they were part of the accident.
Right.
Okay. No, there were no other witnesses because it was a street with not a place where people walk. It was, I was like, sorry, there were no witnesses. Okay, well, because the cops never showed up and never filed a police report, and because there are no witnesses, we feel that we're going to side with our client. And I was like, so wait, you just told me my story is most likely what happened.
Yep.
And that your client is not telling the truth. You just admitted to me that your client is lying per your opinion.
Yep.
And you're still going to side with him.
Yep.
Yes. So I'm basically fucked. I didn't say that, sir. No. That is what you just said. You just said our client is a lying piece of shit, but we're going to stick with him because we really don't want to give you money.
Yep.
And so that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay. I have a very similar story that happened to me a long time ago when I was going to art school, where I was driving down the highway and there was a person in the left-hand lane in front of me that was driving a big fuck-off truck. This person was actually a soldier. And they started changing lanes right into me. I was kind of in their blind spot, but they weren't looking. And I started to kind of pull off to the right. And then I realized that, like, I was going to have to pull into a non-existent shoulder / the foliage on the side of the road at 60 miles per hour, or this person was going to run into me. And in my moment of indecision, the person ran into me. Their back tire impacted my driver's side door and left a big old tire print on the side of it. We pulled over, we exchanged information. I was like, yeah, you changed lanes into me. And I should have known better, because at the time the guy was like, yeah, I don't know about that. And it was like, no, you did. Like, I didn't, because you were you didn't check your blind spot and you changed lanes into me. It's also a little intimidating when the person that you're, talking to is a soldier that's in like fatigues and shit.
Yeah.
So I let it go, and then I called their insurance company, and they did the exact same thing. There were no witnesses. Our client says that you hit them, and I'm like, well, that's not possible. Like, or that doesn't make any sense given where the damage is. The damage indicates that your client didn't check their blind spot and change lanes into me, not that I willfully changed lanes into a giant truck that was in like on the left-hand side of my car within my field of vision just for nothing. Or that somehow he was trying to change lanes into the right-hand lane and I like zoomed up to get him to hit me for some reason. None of those make sense. So anyway, this PSA is basically to say to people, if you get into an accident, you call the cops and don't leave until the cops get there. Don't let the other person leave until the cops get there. I mean, don't like try to physically restrain them, but you need to explain to them, hi, I've called the police and we're going to wait here until they get here. In your case, it would have been you wait for the cops and then you call the cops again and you'd be like, I'm sorry, you could leave the scene of this accident, but I'm going to talk to police officers when they get here and I will tell them that and I have all of your information. Because at this point, as near as I can tell, there is no situation unless if the other person decides that they want to be a scumbag, then you're fucked. And that's just the way it is. That no insurance company will ever willingly say, no, it seems like I don't know. Somebody will post in the comments. There's probably cases where this has happened and it's gone better for the people. But what I'm saying is cover your ass and either get a third-party witness that's willing to give you a statement with their phone number and everything, or better than that, get that witness and then still call the cops and wait for them to get there. Because as near as I can tell, unless like there is unequivocal proof, and maybe even not then, it seems like if the other person says to their insurance, no, that's not what happened, just lies their ass off, that their insurance company doesn't want to do any work or investigation or anything, that they will literally just be like, okay, that seems fine. Fuck you, and we're going to go with our
going back to my story a little bit, like he claimed that he was in the right-hand lane and I tried to go around him, which on the right-hand side, which on the street that we were on, the only way for me to do that if he was in the right-hand lane would to be on the sidewalk running over people.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. No, I feel like at this point it's not even about making sense. It's one of those things like I don't normally talk a lot about like politics or anything on this show.
Yeah.
But this is one of those things that really irritates me because I'm required by law to carry insurance on my car. And yet I have been through a couple of different places where the insurance is just like, yeah, fuck you. We don't care. Like that's, and the one time that I've needed this thing that I pay every month into, and it's just like, no, go fuck yourself, especially when it's somebody else's insurance. So in any case, all I wanted to say is I wanted to use this as a teachable moment to basically say to the people out there in TV land, call the cops when you get in an accident and wait for them to show up and fill out a report. No matter how onerous it is, trust in the fact that if you can at least get your story down, that if you're arguing with the person with a cop standing in front of you, then at least you're going to know at that point whether they're going to fuck you, because they're going to have to stand there and lie about what happened to a police officer, and then you're going to get into it right there instead of weeks later when nobody can tell what the fuck or whatever. And if you got to be late for work or the meeting or whatever, please do it, because apparently if there's any question or if the other party is willing to just lie their ass off, then their insurance company is under no particular pressure to investigate whether what they're saying even makes any sense in your case. Like in my case, it was even like there's a weird offhand chance that could happen. But in your case, the thing that the guy said makes no sense. Like I was going to make a turn and then John popped a curb, drove on the sidewalk, sped past me to get in front of me at the last possible moment in a way that I couldn't have seen him or stopped in any way, shape, or form to avoid this accident from happening.
Yeah, and the damage was on the back half of my vehicle, so it's not like I was like I was in front of him a little bit.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, that. With that out of the way, let's head to the questions. Mail at rageselect.com. Our first email this week comes in from Mira, who says, "Hey, Jeff and John. And this is mostly a question for me, but John, I'm sure you can talk a little bit about this."
Okay.
It says, Jeff, what shaped your decision to do mostly dojo-style videos and not playthroughs like many Let's Players do? This is not a complaint. Happy face. And co-host, or John, have you seen the Preacher TV show? If yes, did you like it? If not, watch it. It's great. Rage on. Miro's telling you got to go watch that Preacher show.
I haven't watched Preacher, but I've heard good things about it.
No, he says you've got to go watch it. So let's wrap it up and fucking get
I don't even know where to watch it.
I haven't watched it either. Though I've been tempted to go back. If it was in an easy place, like if it was on Netflix or something, I think I would watch it. I don't want to go out of my way to go like buy it off of Amazon or anything like that. But as far as the first question, it's mostly because when I started doing Loading Bar and then when I started doing Rage Select, I mapped my version of this website and what I wanted to do off of my personal heroes of video game journalism, which were Jeff Gerstmann and Ryan Davis from Giant Bomb, or originally from GameSpot, and then when they moved to Giant Bomb, they started doing quick looks, and that is essentially where my idea of the dojos came in, was from the quick looks that they were doing. Because the thing I think that people, depending on how long people have been watching this show or how long people have been looking at this, is I wanted to make something that was akin to like a homebrew IGN like Giant Bomb, not let's two best friends play or PewDiePie or any of that stuff. Like, I wasn't even really aware that most other places did that for a year or more after I started doing this, because I was just copying IGN, Giant Bomb, GameSpot, those kind of channels, not necessarily other YouTube channels. Why are you grinning?
Oh, no, because I'm also remembering back in the Loading Bar days, because while I may not have been part of the Loading Bar or part of Spill back then, I knew you back in those days, and because I was dating Amanda, and I just remembered how I remember Amanda being like, you guys should totally do Let's Plays, and you and Jason and even Corey at the time was just like, nah, that's not really a thing. People don't watch those. People don't care. And she's like, no, you guys need, and even I'm sitting there going, no, you guys should totally do Let's Plays. And then you went, well, Giant Bomb does these quick look things. That's kind of like what you're talking about. I totally get why they do those. Maybe we could do something like that. And me and Amanda are like, yes, do that.
Well, I always wanted to do those.
I know, but
it's mainly just, I think that there was a lot of questions back in the Spill days that I can't even really get into, because I wasn't in the head of people about what exactly the Loading Bar was going to be, what we were going to do.
I know.
Everybody remembers that we did like a few animated things, but we never really got all the way into that.
Yeah.
But and to be honest, the format, the reason I actually love that format is because it gives me a chance to play a bunch of new games. Like, I would never have gotten a chance to play Stories Untold if we were just focused on putting out a new episode of, we're playing through all of Persona 4 because Persona 5 comes out in a week, right? Like,
or or not even that, just we're playing all of Undertale because it's a really good game. We're playing all of fucking
Night in the Woods,
we busted out the NES and are playing all of DuckTales.
Yeah, and mostly I feel like it's nice because we get a chance to show people a lot of different things.
Yeah,
it's more expensive. I mean, I'll tell folks that I wrote something like $10,000 worth of video games off my taxes last year because I pay for all the games that we play.
All the games, all the all the everything.
Yep. I mean, yeah. I've gotten sent a game here or there or a code, but for the most part, but I like playing a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Like, I talked about it at one point because Rage Select's numbers have never been super high, but I talked at one point about doing more of that. I mean, we do have our Sequential Saturday where we do play one game sequentially. I feel like the other thing that may not exactly be, I don't really know because I don't really watch other Let's Play channels because I'm so concerned about crypto memory and jokes getting in my head, is that it also seems like those guys will sit down and just play like 6 hours of a game, record and play 6 hours of a game like in one sitting, and then release a lot of that stuff. And I get about 3 hours with each person that comes over to my house to do stuff before we're just brain dead. And also because people have lives, and the people that are on Rage Select, they, most of y'all are volunteers that do this for fun and because we're friends. And, I hope that it's fun and not a big grindy chore for everybody.
Yeah.
But
well, I'll also go ahead and say that, I, like you kind of brought up, a lot of Let's Play channels are let's play this game and let's play it all the way through.
Yeah.
And some of those, like, I've watched Game Grumps where just like halfway through the play, I'm like, this is not fun anymore. Like, they're not, like, it's not fun to watch them play this.
Sure.
And they're still playing it, and it's very clear that they don't like it. And sometimes if they get to a point where they don't like a game, they'll stop playing it. They'll be like, well, we're not going to play this game anymore after this episode because we're kind of we both hate it kind of thing. And sometimes they won't. Sometimes they'll keep playing it, even though they're not clearly having fun. And I'm not saying Game Grumps specifically. I'm just saying using them as an example. I've seen it with other Let's Players as well. And I think the way you do it allows people to see every game, like to, maybe experience games that they're not normally wouldn't look at, but also gives them just enough of it that it's entertaining and it doesn't overstay its welcome.
Yep.
Because there are a lot of games that you may play on it and you're like, man, this is a really fun game. And then like after you sit down, after you finish the dojo videos and everything and just sit down to play it normally by yourself and you're like, it gets bad later. Like the second half of this game is garbage. I don't want to play this anymore.
There's been a lot of Ubisoft games that have overstayed their welcome by about 10 hours in my house over the years. But yeah, so I don't know. That's the thinking of it. And it's, again, it really just comes down to a motivation of, I didn't craft what we were going to do based on Let's Players. I crafted it based on quick looks from Giant Bomb. And because those guys seem to be having a ton of fun. Like, it was also the way I wanted to do the podcast. I wanted to bring news back in because back when I used to listen to Giant Bomb cast, there was a lot of I liked listening to their takes on the news and what they're playing and stuff like that. When we did the Loading Bar email show, that was just all emails, right? We were just always doing emails. We might do a little jokes in the beginning, but it was mostly just emails. And I like having a place to just talk about what's going on in gaming every week.
Yeah.
So that's
it's a good format. It's also one of those things where not a lot of Let's Players do that. I mean, and even the other thing was that you played videos for at the time early on, and now a little bit longer, but 30 minutes a piece per episode, and it was like you'd be lucky if most Let's Players are like 15 minutes.
Well, yeah, that was another thing. There was a lot of times where people would say you should cut down your time and release more parts, and I thought about that a lot, but I remember even in the spill days having arguments about how long the video should be, because there's always this thing that you run into of like the internet wants a short burst of content that they can get, but with video games, especially if you're just playing just from hit the start button, most video games don't start even doing a thing these days until at least 30 to 45 minutes in.
And even then, longer. If you actually look at YouTube now, a lot of that stuff is now long form content. People are making longer videos, like 15-minute Let's Plays are actually kind of dying off, and now people are doing 30 minutes, an hour long, 2 hour long, 3 hour long videos.
Yeah.
For games, because that's what people watch now.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, I think it's funny if you go back and you watch. I mean, this is a little inside baseball for people before we move on to the next question. It's funny though, because if you watch Jason and I, or even Grant and I play a thing, we almost always stop like immediately right at around minute 30, like because those guys are just so used to that shorter form. Whereas like when Amanda and I play, we'll be like, you know what, this is cool. Let's keep playing this for another 10 or 15 minutes over 30 minutes and see what happens. Too. Yeah, absolutely. All right, our next question comes in from VJ. VJ says, hello, Jeff and Sexy John. VJ here. My question is about love-hate relationships with games. When Diablo 3 came out in 2012, I didn't like what the game was offering and chose not to purchase it. In 2014, the main game plus expansion went on sale for 50% off, and since the worst things about the game had been addressed, I thought I'd check it out. I sank 100 hours into it and absolutely hated it. I found the environments and the monsters repetitive. There's nothing much to do after completing the game except clear higher level, greater rifts. Furthermore, the dopamine rush that accompanies a set/legendary drop kind of dulled out after a while. Also, single player lag, so I said fuck Blizzard and uninstalled the game. However, every subsequent year, I found myself researching builds, installing the game, and sinking another 100 hours into it, and then rage uninstalling it. Can you recommend any other games that infuriate you, but you find yourself coming back to? Thanks for answering my question. All hail the Dong Lord from VJ.
Is there a game that I actually don't like that I keep going back to playing?
Okay, this is something that I can say. I'm sorry. I apologize in advance. I apologize to everybody who's listening.
Is it Dark Souls?
No.
You secretly hate Dark Souls?
I secretly hate Dark Souls. No, it's every game that Obsidian's ever made. Is that I'll every few years I'll go and like reinstall, what's the spy one? The secret agent one.
Oh, God damn it, because I actually like that game.
Yeah.
Like, I don't hate it. I like it though, and I can't remember what it is.
I'll look it up. Or like KOTOR 2 or something, and I'll play it and I'll just be like, all right. Or New Vegas, that's the big one, because I don't want, as I said a million times, I don't want to dislike
Alpha Protocol.
Alpha Protocol. There you go.
I always wanted them to make an Alpha Protocol 2.
And I try real hard. I'll play about 5 to 10 hours of it, and I'll just be like, I'm just not having any fun with this. Goodbye, video game.
Yeah.
I mean, but for the most part, I don't play games. I mean, I play so many. See, the last question is I play so many goddamn games every week that, like, I don't have time to just keep, like, you know, you're like, every year I'll reinstall Diablo and put 100 hours in. I'm like, fuck you, where the fuck you get 100 hours from? I don't have 4 hours to jump into Diablo. And if I do, I feel guilty about playing Diablo because I should be playing, take your pick. I mean, I want to play Nier Automata, but, like,
Automata?
I just, that game, I need to see how long it is, and it was doing some interesting things in, like, the third hour, but, like, there's all these reviews for it. They're just like, brilliant, crazy masterpiece, wonderful,
you
weird.
You can pet your companion.
And
10 out of 10.
I'm like, really? Because when I played it, I was just like, I don't know, Platinum Games, third-person action. I mean, not bad, but just not, you know, not exactly punching my dick off over here. I'm trying to think of any other games that I'll install that I hate play. Any games that you hate play?
That's the thing. I've been trying to think about, like, what games do I, like, dislike, but I keep coming back to, and I'm like, I don't know. Like, I feel like there is something. I just can't, for the life of me, think of what it is.
I'll wander right up next to a MOBA from time to time, and then kind of realize that there's just too much. There's too much in MOBAs for me to really play them. To really get to a place where I play them, but for the most part, I just don't think that there's anything.
You know, I think it's more mobile games.
Yeah.
I think I do that more with mobile games than I do with anything. Like, there are games that, like, I've like played on mobile, and I'm like, oh, this is cool, whatever. And then, like, I was like, man, I fucking hate this game. Why am I playing it? And then I'll stop playing it, and I won't touch it for months on end. And then just one day, I'll just like open. Oh yeah, I hate this game, but I'm still playing it. Okay, well,
that's a real testament to, like, the Skinner box techniques in mobile games to just, like, keep you hooked and playing.
Yeah. No, I have found myself playing mobile games again lately.
Yeah.
Yeah, but more, like, less freemium, but in more like you pay like $2 or $3 and you get like a full story that is like you're not actually, there's no like nickel and diming you as far as like, oh, you can't play this thing for 12 minutes unless you pay money.
I played a little Super Mario Run.
Yeah.
It was all right. It's okay. So a little upset that I got all the pink coins in a level, and then it was like, now there's even more coins for
and
you
they're
to go
a different
back.
color. Now they're purple.
It's like, oh, fuck you, video game. I got better things to do with my time. So I don't know, VJ, that we really have an answer. I feel like John and I are both have a very similar idea of just like you start playing a game, and even if it's a bad game, you know what, I could see what people might like about this. Like, I still to this day will say that I played Aliens Colonial Marines co-op with a friend of mine, and it was a great experience because we just laughed at how shitty the game was.
Yeah.
So like, the game wasn't any good, but we were able to, oh my God, you just see what happened there? Like, for a while, my friend got a face hugger and was just walking through the game with a face hugger on, and I was just like, you still got that face hugger on? He's like, oh yeah, I could see everything fine on my screen. And I'm just like, well, on my screen, this is what you look like. Click, send. And he was like, So, all right, I feel like I got a couple more questions here, and these are pretty easy. Alex C. writes in and says, Jeff and John. Actually, she says, or he or them say, Jeff and super fancy co-host. You're super fancy now, John.
I'm sexy. I'm super fancy. I'm all those things.
Yep. And Alex says, I am in the middle for applying for tons of new jobs, and I had a really great interview this week. Now I'm stuck in what seems like a never-ending cycle of waiting. It's really only been like 3 days. Do you have any tips to help cut some stress out of my life or distract me from the waiting process? Help me, your loyal fan, Alex C. I'm going to make a radical suggestion here. Play video games.
No, I can totally understand what he means. Like, if it's especially, I mean, definitely play video games. The only other thing I can really say, if there are, like, if it's a thing where if you've just applied for the job and you're waiting for the response of them calling you back, apply for other jobs. Like, literally just apply for other jobs.
Sure.
If you've gone on the interview and they said, oh, we'll call you back, and it's been 3 days, still apply for other jobs. Because here's the thing. Even if that's the job you want, like that's like your single pick, that's the job you want, you know, if they don't call you back, what are you just going to do? Sit there and wait some more?
Yeah.
No, you need to get out there and get other jobs. But you can if you get that job, like if they do call you back and they say, hey, you've got the job, can you start on this date, and then someone else calls you and says, hey, we'd like you to come in for an interview, you can be like, nope, I already got a job, no worries.
Yeah,
you are free to say no. But I me personally, I just keep applying until I've actually got a job.
Okay.
And then once I've got a job, then I just tell everybody else sorry. But definitely play video games, watch movies, watch TV. Go on Netflix. Go, what's a TV show? What is this TV show? I've never heard of this TV show. I'm going to watch the entire fucking series.
Go watch Better Off Ted. It's a great show that more people needed to watch. I love that show.
Yeah.
Day drink and watch Cheers. It'll be great. It'll be synergy.
Well, it has nothing to do because I'm not looking for a job right now, but I recently discovered a show I'd never heard of called Forever that apparently aired in like 2014.
Okay.
Only got one season. And it was like, it's a police procedural, but the twist is the main character is immortal.
Da-da-da.
I'd never heard of the show. It's got the dude who played Mr. Fantastic in the Fantastic Four movie, not the most recent one, but the old one with Jessica Alba.
Okay.
It's got that guy. It's got the guy who plays the father of Jeff Goldblum in Independence Day.
Okay.
I can't think of his name. I think it's like John something or other.
I don't really
he was
remember.
also the main actor in the TV show Dear John. It's fucking got, like, Cuba Gooding Jr. shows up as a regular character at one point in the show. Like, it's got, like, a bunch of really good actors.
Interesting.
A Baldwin shows up for an episode. It's got, like, a bunch of really good actors in it. And I'm like, how have I never heard of this show? And it's because it's a middling, it's by the numbers, middling, doesn't really do anything to rock the boat police procedural.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's why, because this could literally be Castle or Bones or any number of those other shows that were like this. And they just, the hook of him being immortal is kind of a secondary to the police procedural.
Okay.
Which it's like, well, it's good, but it's not better than those other shows.
Yeah, just go get yourself a Netflix and a Hulu subscription. Both of them together, I think, are like $13 a month.
Go on, download the CWC app on your console. CW Seed is the CW Network's their app. It's free. It has ads, but it's free. They got a ton of shows, not just from the CW, but from like ABC and like a bunch of other like shows that are already off the air.
Cool.
Like just older stuff. And like I've actually they've even got some exclusive like little short series that look like garbage, but look at that. Go download Verve, Crunchyroll's new thing that they've got a partnership with Nerdist and the Nerdist and Rift Tracks and all these other like online providers for content. Go download Crunchyroll. Do a subscription to, like you said, Amazon and Hulu.
Go get yourself an Amazon Kindle and read a bunch of books.
Yeah,
or
do that
learn
too.
how to play guitar, build a birdhouse, make a cake. To learn how to do one of those things where you run up the wall and you do a flip, but if you get hurt, that's not my fault. You got to assume a certain amount of responsibility when you learn how to run up a wall and do a flip. But guess what? When you learn how to do it, then you could run up a wall and do a flip, and then people will be like, what?
Then you get in that situation like, what is it, Cradle to Grave with DMX, where he's being chased by the pit bulls and he runs up the wall and does the flip over the pit bulls.
Yeah.
And it totally looks fucking ridiculous and stupid, and I had to walk out of the theater because of how stupid it was.
Yeah.
I couldn't take it anymore.
See,
Fuck
Alex,
that movie.
You can make John walk right out of the theater. That's what you can learn how to do while you're waiting. All right, one more non-video game related question comes in from Evan this week. Hello, Jeff and John. I have been trying to listen to a new album every couple days and was wondering if you had any suggestions for album/artists I should listen to next. I mostly listen to rock and its various subgenres, but I'm open to all genres and artists. Thank you for all of the wonderful content you put out every week. Your loyal patron, Evan. Sorry, not Ivan. Evan. So, yeah. I thought this was a good question, and I feel like unlike a lot of like really open-ended questions, there's like no right answer to this. We could just sit here and list off albums.
I can name a few off the top of my head. Why
don't we go back and forth? You'll do one, and I'll do one.
I'm actually going to give you a band, the Megas. They are a rock band in a way, but they are kind of nerd. All their albums are based off of the games, the Mega Man games.
Okay.
Their first one, Get Equipped, is based on Mega Man 2. It's really good. There's also an acoustic version of that album, which is also really good.
Okay.
And then also they have a 2-part album for Mega Man 3 called History Repeating Red and Blue.
Okay.
all of those full albums are excellent, and they are basically telling the story of those games from the villain's point of view for the most part.
Cool.
And all the songs are really, really good.
Okay. I'm gonna have a lot of. I'm gonna try my bread and butter is girl fronted pop punk / pop rock. So I could name off roughly 1 billion artists. But I'm going to just give you one for right now. And that is the 2004 album Kiss and Tell by the band Sahara Hot Nights. This is an all-girl group from, I believe, they're from somewhere in Europe. And they just got some good old-fashioned, just fucking rocky, poppy rock and roll. Their song Hot Night Crash. I will come home from the bar and listen to it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again because it is so goddamn catchy. And it also is this... I don't know. It's kind of like Joan Jett speeded up. I've never been the biggest fan of Joan Jett or trying to think if there's another band that kind of sounds a little bit like that. But yes, check out Sahara Hot Nights. They are great. What do you got next, John?
It's a punk band.
Okay.
But it is an older album that is, you will probably call it's from a band called Death.
Okay.
The album is called For the Whole World to See. Mm-hmm. This is what people are calling the first punk band.
Okay.
And also...
Is there this documentary, a band called Death or whatever?
There's a documentary about it. It's not only are they basically touted as the very first punk band before punk was even a thing, they're also 3 black guys from Detroit.
Yeah, there you go.
So it's everything about this band doesn't make sense, but it exists, and it is amazing.
Okay.
So a band called Death, For the Whole World to See. Go check it out.
Okay. For my money, I'm going to take you all the way back to around 1997, I believe, which was when this particular album came out. I don't know if the children out there in the world, John, know the man, the legend, the one, the only Kool Keith. But Kool Keith is a rapper who does kind of funky, psychedelic, weirdo rap, and he's kind of funny. A lot of his albums, he went under the moniker Dr. Doom. He had his first album was called Sex Style, but I don't want to talk about any of that. I want to talk about the greatest crazy rap album that I've ever heard in my life, and that is Dr. Octogynecologist by Dr. Octagon. This is a concept album of a crazy rapping surgeon by Kool Keith. He's got some crazy rhymes. They sample Cabin Boy, judiciously in the song Half Shark, Half Alligator Man, where he says, half man, half shark. This is a fucking crazy album, and it's just a joy to listen to. Go check it out. I think you'll like it. We got you. I feel like we get 2 or 3 more of these, and then we'll probably be good. Go back and forth.
I could totally understand that.
Yeah.
I do have another one.
All right.
I'm also going to throw out a band, Masked Intruder. They're kind of a pop punk band. However, their kitsch, their shtick is that they are hooded criminals. They're masked intruders, legitimately. That's all their music is about, them being masked intruders.
Okay.
But they're all love songs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's them wanting to find love, but no one will love them because they're criminals.
Oh, wow.
They're a little bit of doo-wop add to the pop punk mix, a little bit of doo-wop. Their first album, which is just called Masked Intruder, is excellent. Their second album, which is just titled M.I., is also pretty good. They just had a third album that came out recently. I can't remember the title of it. That's also pretty good, but I would go with the first one.
Okay.
Because I think while all of their albums are great, I think the first one is good for beginners because it kind of, you get the idea of the shtick.
Okay.
And I feel like it's a little bit more pop punky, a little bit more rocky than the second one, which is a little bit more doo-wop than the first one.
Okay.
But I totally dig it. Masked Intruder, self-titled album.
Fair enough. I'm going to go with another. You guys could probably tell by now that I don't listen to a lot of modern music, since just about everything that I'm going to list off here is coming from an old place. But if you've never listened to a band called The Faint, they have an album called Danse Macabre. That is DANSEMACABRE, and they are kind of just the epitome of kind of sleazy. No, you know what? I'm going to scratch that because I said the word sleazy. I got one better for you. Oh my God. Nobody these days remembers. Well, and that's not true. I'm talking to thousands of people. Somebody remembers. John, do you remember the band My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult?
Sounds familiar.
Maybe, maybe not. They had a couple of radio hits, but we're talking like mid-90s trash disco industrial. Like, just, they opened for Pigface a bunch of times, and I saw them. The album, Hit and Run Holiday, is a masterpiece of just insane garbage, fun, like sleazy industrial. It's wonderful. I'll tell you the story of how I found it was my roommate was a big fan of this band, and I'd never heard him before. And one day I woke up and I was hungover, and I came out into the living room where our CD player was, and I was just like, fuck it, whatever's in there, and like hit the play button and went to go get myself some juice out of the kitchen. And from the first 20 seconds of Hit and Run Holiday, I was just like, I don't know what the fuck this is, but I fucking love it, and I want to hear more of it 24 hours a day. So Hit and Run Holiday, by My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult. That's K Kill and K Cult. Also a brief thing when my same roommate saw this band when they were touring for that album. Apparently they walked out on stage, did not greet the audience, played the album from start to finish in the order the songs were on the album, put down their instruments, and walked off stage and like drove off into the night. Like, no encore, no talking to the audience. They just walked up and played the album, and I'm like, ballsy move, My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult. I like it.
Okay.
All right.
So this is going to be my last one, I guess.
Okay.
Unless you want to do more.
We'll do maybe two more.
Okay.
This is fun. I like this.
I would be remiss if I didn't pitch something from my favorite band of all time, which is Less Than Jake. Mm-hmm. I would say check out See the Light, which is their second to newest album. Their most recent one, which is less of an album and more of an EP, which is called Sound the Alarm. I like, but I feel like See the Light is a better album.
Okay.
Maybe not their best album, but I like it a little bit more. Other than that, I might suggest, since you are more of a rock person, you said, I might also suggest In With the Out Crowd by Less Than Jake.
Okay. I'm going to go with this is a little bit of a strange one, but Rat-a-Tat. I don't know how many people know this band, but Rat-a-Tat's first album, Rat-a-Tat, self-titled, is great. It is a fully instrumental album. It's kind of hard to describe. It's very catchy kind of synth electronic music, but it's got a lot of like really crunchy guitars is one of the things. It's like mostly keyboards and crunchy guitars with kind of like just a backing of just like drum machine and drum sample type of stuff. It's a really fun album, and when you listen to it, like when if you go into, and I'm doing all these are on Spotify, by the way, that I'm looking at right now.
Most of my stuff that I've mentioned is also on Spotify. I don't know about the Death album, but I'm sure it is.
But if you just go and you check it out, you go to the first track and you hit the play button, and you see you will get a chance to find out whether you like Rat-a-Tat or not, because in the first 10 seconds after you get through a little opening monologue, you're going to know whether you like this band. I thought that me and my roommates like knew who this band was, and one South by Southwest, we were like, oh, Rat-a-Tat's playing, let's go down and see him. I bet nobody's there. And we went down, and there was a line of people standing like 4 across down the block and around the corner to see Rat-a-Tat. So it was like, I guess we don't get to see Rat-a-Tat because I'm not waiting in line for 6 hours. But their first album is still totally, totally awesome, and you should give it a shot.
Okay. I'm also going to throw off a little bit of a weird one here. Another weird one. Me First and the Gimme Gimmes.
Yeah.
Specifically, their album, Are We Not Men? We Are Diva, which is all diva songs.
Okay.
Because Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, if you don't know who they are a cover band. Mm. They only do covers, but each of their albums is themed. Like they have a country music album called Me First and the Gimme Gimmes Love Their Country. They have one that's nothing but show tunes, or Broadway musical stuff.
Okay.
Which is called Me First and the Gimme Gimmes Are a Drag. They do kind of like R&B songs, which is Me First and the Gimme Gimmes Take a Break. But the diva one, I feel like these are all songs on this album. Like literally it's I Will Survive, Straight Up, Believe by Cher, My Heart Will Go On. It's just I feel like it's one of their better albums, is the Are We Not Men, We Are Diva. But I suggest that one because you're going to know all the songs, and also they're good covers.
Okay. Last but not least, I'm gonna make a twofer here. My original recommendation is the band Whiteout by Boss Hogg, Hogg. This is Christina Martinez's band. This is their second album. Do you remember the show Daria?
Yeah.
Okay. You remember in Jane's room there was a poster of like a woman in a dress holding like an umbrella?
Yeah.
That's the cover of Boss Hogg's like first album. So Whiteout was the album that came after that. And I stumbled onto this in a record store when I lived in Seattle and just really liked it. It's just, she's great. The band is, it's really catchy stuff. I like the second album more, or it might even be the third album that they have. But this is not the right person that I'm looking at on Spotify right now. Anyway,
probably not.
There we go. So they're listed on Spotify as just Boss Hogg HOG. But yeah, Whiteout is an album from 2000, and it's real catchy. It's real fun. It's got a lot of like nice kind of just like poppy rock and roll stuff. And if you like that, Christina Martinez is married to John Spencer of the John Spencer Blues Explosion, and the album Plastic Fang that came out kind of around the same time is great. I'll just go to YouTube. I don't know if that one's actually available. I think they have Acme on Spotify, but I don't think they have Plastic Fang. But go to YouTube and do a search for the song She Said, that's like a music video with John Spencer as a vampire seducing a bunch of nuns, and then Christina Martinez shows up as another vampire and kind of kicks his ass. They have a lot of videos where she's kicking his ass, which I'm like, I like these too.
Yeah.
Saw John Spencer Blues Explosion once when I lived in Seattle, and they were great. So yeah, both those for solid rock and roll choices. I don't know. You want to do one more? I think I could do
two more if you wanted. Why
don't you do one more, and then we'll close it up.
I'm just going to go with, you probably listened to it, but I'm going to suggest it anyways. The Gorillaz, they got a new album coming out next month, at the end of next month. I'm going to say, to prepare for that, go listen to Plastic Beach. It's a phenomenal album. I'm a huge fan of Gorillaz, so.
Cool. All right. Let's cut this off before we just start going down. And then I got another one. mail@rageselect.com is the email address to write in. Keep an eye on the website. I think that next week we're going to have an announcement of something pretty big, probably on Monday or Tuesday. So keep your eyes open. And I don't know, maybe next Friday, if you got plans, you tell your friends that you're going to see them the Friday after that. I don't know. Maybe that's what you should do. I'm not saying anything is happening, but maybe.